can we talk about one of the activities? There are so many in your books, and what I like about so in the flow learning, you have like 4 different animals that relate to the different aspects of flow learning. Can you talk about one of the things that an exercise somebody can do? So say we got a spare moment and we want to go out to the river and we want to really experience it.
There's a good exercise that you can use adult and child or among adults, and it's called the camera game. And it's done with 2 people. You have the camera and you have the photographer. And what you do is the camera has its eyes closed, and you turn the camera to the picture, and then you tap the shoulder twice, the photographer does, and the camera looks at the picture like this, and then you tap again and close. And you leave the lens open of the human camera for about 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And what it does is by leaving it open for a short time, you take in the impression of the river, and then you close before you start to daydream and sort of take away from the impact of the image. We've actually had people remember their pictures for 8 years after the fact, because it just left a real strong impression. And so this is a good one with young children, adults. I tell the adults they can always peek if they need to, because the children aren't really aware of leading a grandpa or grandma around.
It'll certainly take your mind off your pencil business.
Yes.
And so in some of these, so each one of the processes, you have awakening enthusiasm, focusing attention, experiencing directly, and sharing the inspiration. Talk about experiencing directly. That's kind of the camera one, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Where you're just right there with it. When people go out and we talk about meditation a lot, and like closing your mind, allowing all the thoughts to flow through. If you're out in nature, you don't so much want to isolate or be away from. I don't know. Isolate isn't the right word, but isolate within yourself, your personality. You want to be part of nature. What's a good outdoor meditation?
Okay. There's actually a beautiful one. I call it Expanding Circles. It actually was developed by Paramahansa Yogananda, the inspiration behind Ananda. And people all over the world are using it. I featured it in Listening to Nature. And there's a beautiful story that a friend of mine had with some Navajo children. They asked the children to draw a picture of themselves in the classroom. And the American children, on a large piece of paper like this, they drew their legs, the trunk of their body, and the arms, and they covered the whole piece of paper with themselves as they were asked to do. Well, the Navajo children in the class, they drew themselves differently, because on the large piece of paper, they drew themselves only this big. And then they drew the dry desert wash, the canyon walls, and the clouds in the sky, because they felt the environment all around them was just as much a part of who they were. Well, this is an exercise to really feel that sense of largeness, which I think is the most important lesson that nature has to teach us. And what you do is you first sit and you close your eyes and you just become aware of your own body. And then you open your eyes and you look at things just in front of you. And you look at the pine needles, the stones, maybe the ants, the flowers, and try to feel that you're living just as much in those things as you are in your own hands and legs. And then after a while you extend it out to the edge of the river and the bank, and then out into the water, and just feel yourself in the movement of the water. And then in the bushes beyond, waving in the breeze, and then the tall pines, and then the mountains and the sky. And you just progressively send it out in your awareness in stages. We had one woman said, as I was doing this in the Sierra, that at first I felt like I was composing a picture, and then I found that I'd stepped in the picture and became the picture. And this is often people's experience. And even young children like this, you get them, with flow learning, you satisfy their need for excitement and focus, but in learning about nature, and then they become more calm. An exercise to help them become calm that's very popular is the Unnature Trail. And in this activity, you have a path, and you place manufactured objects no farther than 3 feet that are camouflaged, and the children walk along, adults love this too, and they try to see the total number of objects. And so they have to look really hard, and high school students in Manitoba, when I had about 24 objects, they saw on the average about 4. And they were so embarrassed the first time that they really looked the next time. We had one child at Ananda School after playing it. They said, I saw a lizard blink 13 feet away because they were looking that intently. And I noticed children notice rubbish around where they didn't before just because they were attentive. And so that the focus attention stage activities challenges children to use one of their senses, and in meeting that challenge, they become more receptive and attentive, and then you can lead them into a more sensitive experience.
Boy, this would all transfer over into life outside the woods as well.
Oh yes, yes.
Being more aware, being here now, all those kinds of good things. Well, when you have, I know that there's lots of educational opportunity for kids to learn things from you. What about if somebody wanted to be a facilitator or wanted to embrace the Sharing Nature program? How could they learn about that?
They could begin on our website, sharingnature.com. They could also look at my books, Sharing Nature with Children, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have a wonderful John Muir book. It teaches, it's got great teaching stories. And
Can we run a couple of these, you guys?
This is Sharing Nature Volume 1.
And it's the 30th anniversary of this book
yes.
now.
It's
1979, you guys. Anybody was around then, other than me? This is the first Sharing Nature. This is the 20th anniversary. This is 10 years ago. Here's Sharing Nature with Children 2. In case the kids didn't get it right the first time. And here's this. This is a wonderful book. This John Muir, Life and Nature. And you wrote this as John Muir.
Yes, as he was looking back on his life, and it's Muir at his best. I took his words and simplified them, and a lot of stories for teaching an environmental ethic in that book. And
it's a wonderful. Don't we need to hear that now?
Yes.
Or always. And then listening to nature. So this is an older. This is 1987, I think this book came out. But this is another wonderful book. There we go. Get that Scott to look at that. Beautiful imagery in this book too. And the Listening to Nature book, I like this a lot because you can, in the morning, read a couple of pages, and it takes you through a different day. And one of the days, and I think it was day 6, was the poem that you mentioned earlier. And you wrote that, The Birds of the Air.
Yes.
That certainly stood you in good stead, huh? And so inside the book, then we'd have, on one page, you would have the poem, and then an image here to go with that. Beautiful photography, too, which is John Hendrickson.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and sometimes he'd wait 8 hours to take that one picture. So it's a form of meditation for him, too.